Max, I'll start with you because I know how much you love Boston. What does this say about the Patriots?
I think it says that Bill Polian is paying attention. Look, the Patriots are a great franchise. Any given year, you want to sound smart. Hey, who's going to win the Super Bowl? If you say the Patriots, you ain't going to be wrong by much. What's the worst thing they're going to do? Lose in the AFC Championship game usually? I mean, that's as bad as it's going to get for the most part. So they're usually a great team because they have a great coach and a great quarterback and a great franchise. Absolutely. But they were getting embarrassed in the first half of that Super Bowl. Bill Polian's right. They came very close to losing it. And it wasn't just that Tom Brady orchestrated one of the greatest comebacks in the history of American team sports in that second half. It's also that the Atlanta Falcons blew it. In fact, between those two options, if you force me to say which one really happened, I would say it was Atlanta's absurd play calling late in that game when if they just run it a couple times, they're already in field goal range and kick a field goal, it's a two-score game, Super Bowl over. Tom Brady and the Patriots and Bill Belichick lose. So they had to rely as much, at least, on the blunder of the other team as their own capitalizing on that blunder. So that's not an unbeatable team, obviously. And by the way, Atlanta had their own problem. Wasn't a great defensive team or anything. And then you see that the Patriots have improved this year, so everyone just goes off, well, they won the Super Bowl and they improved. They'll be even better. Let's say that was true, guys. When was the last time we felt this way about a team? When the Patriots got Randy Moss and it was like, oh, my God, that's a super team. What's going to happen now? What happened then was they ran the table, undefeated in the regular season, huge favorites throughout the playoffs and heading into the Super Bowl. They were going to be crowned the greatest team in the history of American team sports. But you know what? That is not the nature of football. No one is a lock. Styles make fights, and they lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl. So I don't care how good the Patriots are this year. They're not a lock to win the Super Bowl, and I think when you really look into what Bill Polian is saying, that's what it is. They're a great team. They ain't no lock.
Well, first of all, no one said they were a lock. What people are saying is who should be the favorites. And when you talk about who should be the favorites, the reigning defending Super Bowl champion with a quarterback who many consider to be the greatest ever, with a coach who many considers to be the greatest ever, with a system that can't be questioned, with a resume that's impeccable, combined with the fact that you got Stephon Gilmore in the offseason, you kept Malcolm Butler, and you pretty much, and by the way, you got Brandon Cooks from New Orleans, you're loaded. Now, what does that have to do with what Bill Polian said? What you saw were two things from the great Bill Polian, a Super Bowl champion executive with the Colts, the architect of the Buffalo Bills who went to 4 straight Super Bowls, even though they lost all of those Super Bowls. What are you hearing from Bill Polian, in my opinion? You're hearing two things. An ultra-competitive individual who shuns the notion that anybody is like, the prohibitive favorite and, oh, how you're going to knock them. He's not going for that. His mentality, particularly in a sport where you're literally licensed to punch somebody in the mouth almost and get away with it, and we all know how dudes fade and wiggle underneath pressure, particularly when they get punched in the mouth. That's one element. The other element is very simple. Spygate, Deflategate. The Bill Polians of the world, no matter what they say, think about those things. Because Bill Polian is not only an astute and an accomplished executive, he also happens to be a man of very high character who believes in doing certain things the right way. And the fact that there are even questions about the New England Patriots in terms of those elements, in regards to Deflategate and Spygate, in regards to the 29 or 27 fumbles from last year after Deflategate happened and all of this other stuff. So, the footballs ain't deflated, then you actually have to hold on to the football and you're not going to be helped by deflated footballs. Don't think for one second that somebody as smart as Bill Polian doesn't recognize that, and that does not influence his thinking, at least a tad bit, Coach. That's all I'm saying.
Bill makes a point about the New England Patriots, and obviously when you compete against them, you understand it's going to go through them, because when you think about what these guys have done historically in the last 20 years, they've won 5 Super Bowls. They've won 201 games since Bill Belichick has been the coach. That's an average of about 12 games a year they're going to win. So to compete against those guys, you get the message. Hey, this is what the standard is when you play against New England. It's kind of interesting because back in the day when Peyton Manning was in that division, maybe this record's not the same for New England because now you've got 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks playing each other twice a year, fighting for the division. That would have been a little bit different. Maybe all these records that New England has set the last 20 years don't look the same, but it's kind of interesting. I know this team has won a lot of games. There's a reason. We could say it's the quarterback. We could say it's the head coach. We know they're Hall of Famers. They've got good players, too. I mean, and sometimes that gets overlooked. You think about this defense. This defense last year was only averaging giving up 17 points a game. 17 points. So when you do something like that, you're a pretty well-rounded football team. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that because we always talk about Tom Brady, Captain America, I get it. And we talk about Bill Belichick, Hall of Fame coach. But they've got some good parts on both sides of the football.